Analyst is not a legally protected term. It's not like doctor. It's more like economist. You know, any asshole can start calling themselves one and fart out a vaguely plausible opinion on the current situation.
So I have my John Fitch Smash coffee mug with some Breve in it, Breve latte, because I am a snooty individual. We'll slam that. Why don't you sit down and enjoy a cup of coffee? Because it's cold. You just sit and relax a little bit. How about you stop relaxing so much and catch up to me? These are the philosophical questions I have of everybody who questions me. Anyway, as you guys have known, you may have noticed that I have been putting out a fair amount of excerpts from my book on the videos section of my YouTube channel, not the live section, because some fuckwit at YouTube thought it'd be great to differentiate the two. So, why would you want videos located in one side? Let's just split it up. Ooh, I have an idea. Yes, you with your liberal arts degree. Let's split it up. Yeah. So, in the video section where they are uploaded, and then you have the live section. The video section has excerpts from my latest book, A World Without Men. And the reason for this increase, which has actually helped boost a lot of subscriptions, the reason for that is because I finally came out with the audiobook, and I'm doing my main marketing campaign now, of which that includes providing excerpts of the book on YouTube, because you want to wait till you have all formats of the book available for sale, so you don't lose out on roughly a third of sales. If you're curious about the publishing world, it's a third paperback, a third Kindle, and a third audiobook. So you wait, you save your powder, your marketing powder dry until it's available in all formats. And then you go and you do the marketing campaign. So we're in the midst of that. And part of that is when you put out these excerpts and you want to be somewhat controversial or entertaining or somewhat punchy, because the topic of the book is controversial. Well, it's not controversial. The world would literally die without men. It's not an opinion. You are so irreparably, this world is so irreparably fucked without us. So I could state that as a fact. But naturally, YouTube being what it is, the internet being what it is, you're going to get not even trolls, but people who vehemently disagree with you. And even though it wasn't a ton, there's still this reliable cadre or contingent of, I got to imagine what are women, who do this old, well, you guys just got to man up. Oh, crybabies. Oh, poor little babies. Men aren't happy. You men just need to man up. And it's the old classic shame. And whereas in times past, I think the element of when men complain, society shames them. There is good biological, evolutionary survival reasons for that. You can't have a Debbie Downer. You can't have a men in the tribe being all shattered, self-pity. You can't. Men back in the day when you had to face down nature and carve a living out of it, you couldn't have weak men. You couldn't have men that were just all poor babying. So I understand that. But things are a little bit different now in that this is not men doing self-pity. This is not men complaining because, oh, poor me. Oh, the sadness. It is primarily because things have changed. And in short, women's behavior, because and I don't want to solely address it on women, because it's really society's behavior has changed. But when you talk about a group of people that are binary, men and women, when you talk about one, by default makes the other group of people society. But there's also an asexual co-ed part of society where men and women vote both as a society in terms of a monolithic entity made up of individuals, kind of has this certain type of behavior. It goes this way. So the times are different now than in the past, because it's my thesis, one of my underlining premises of the book, is that society, and consequently by default women, are treating men differently, and they're treating them poorly. Matter of fact, unacceptably so. And whereas I will go along a little bit, only because I see it. The accusation of some men being self-pitying, oh boo hoo hoo, poor is me, beyond what their treatment in society would warrant. I do agree there's a lot of that. I mean, again, listen to me, not making this up, I'm describing it. You did raise a bunch of soy boy pussy Democrat men. Right, you got a bunch of emotional, effeminate. You wanted men to be more like women. Well, here they are, and I will agree there are some, especially the virgin towel group, that I roundly criticize and have consistently done so for about 10 years. There are some men who do not try. There are some men who just give up, go do drugs, revert to the Quran, play video games, and that's all they do. I can't fault men, perfectly honest, to playing video games or resorting to the prawn, not working as much, going gold. I can understand it as long as they're doing something else with their life. They're maintaining their health. They're getting some kind of a job or some kind of profession. And they're not collecting a government check. I would differentiate from that. But I'm talking the ones who never try. And these are the ones you girls are going to have to look out for. You girls don't think that pendulum is coming the other way. This is where you got to look out. You would deem it or call it the incel culture, where these guys have nothing. They've never tried because ultimately at their core, they're lazy. They're also cowards. They're afraid of rejection, which every guy is, I get, but they don't even want to try and they've never asked a girl out. They've never given it a shot. And that's why I draw the line. I'm like, hey, you can't complain about this because you've never tried. So until you try, shut up. But they're using it as an excuse. So I do agree that in a traditional classical sense, some of that criticism we get from what I presume to be women, and there might be some men in that thing too. Oh, you're just a bunch of complainers who want a little crybaby. Okay, for some, largely the people you voted and created. Again, you're soy boy pussy Democrat men. That does not, however, apply to what I would consider the vast majority of men, even younger ones today, who did try, who want to have relationships with women, who want to participate in society, who were at one point willing to do so. But then as they start to look around with the 4K magnifying glass of the internet, they're looking around saying, this is not worth it. They're doing a cost-benefit analysis, and they're saying, okay, the chances of rejection are very high. And I've gone out and I've been rejected. I went on the dating apps. I earned my stripes. I went out to the front line. It was a waste of time. I went to school, but whoa, wait a minute. I'm not doing no 80-hour work weeks like my boomer and Gen X parents did. I saw what happened with divorce. I saw it. They go on the internet. They see, now admittedly, the internet is not the real world, but it definitely correlates and rhymes. And the younger you get, the more it converges with reality because people increasingly live online. So younger men are looking at that saying, geez, this is not encouraging at all. And when you take in the totality of the message that all of society is giving men, I'd say, well, I guess all men, I guess there's no age limit, but certainly the younger ones, 40 and under, it is a perfect and logical and reasonable response for men to stop participating in society, to stop asking women out. They by all means, they have every right to complain, because when you look at things like, say, affirmative action and the propaganda put out by Hollywood, where all the bad people are boys and girl boss, you constantly ad nauseum celebrate women. But when men's interactions with women keep going negative, or the vast majority of experiences with them are negative, you don't need no man. And what they see on the internet, which again, this is not formal polling, but what they do see is he better this, he better that, he better make $150,000 a year. Oh no, then we could talk about the warping effects of online media and online dating and how this result in women having delusional standards. But in short, remove society, putting it very clearly with no ambiguity, women generally treat men like shit. You treat men horribly in this country by law, word, action, and deed. And once again, if you say, you're just complaining, the men are talking now. I get a look when I say that one at social. Hey, the men are talking. And then I get a look. What would the hell? Now I'm thinking about that party. What was I going to say? Yeah. Oh, it's not opinion. You girls really do treat men in this country very poorly, and it's not sadness. Please listen to me. You don't have to agree with me, but just entertain this theory. It is not men being weak and sad and mopey and self-pitying and feeling sorry for themselves. This is a logical, reasonable, calculated response to the information and the treatment men are receiving. And a lot of gals, you say, why are guys asking girls out anymore? Why aren't they doing this anymore? And ultimately, the final bit of data is men aren't proposing. I mean, marriage is just going off a tank, and men control that market more than women. Women do have some influence on that. Men aren't. You are right, ladies. Men are right. And if you care about this, which is a big if you'd like to get married, if you'd like to have men in your life, or maybe you're curious why this is happening from perhaps more of a intellectual, philosophical, sociological sport view, you need to you've got to get rid of what you've been conditioned to believe. Because here's my theory. You girls have been pampered little pains in the asses for 3 generations. You've been just, oh my, I know you girls don't have dicks, but holy shit, no group of people have had their dicks suck more than Western women these past 3 generations. And nothing's your fault, and affirmative action. And like, think about it. You have an actual, not course, an associate's, bachelor's, and master's, and doctorate programs in nearly all universities to study your fucking self. It is legal to discriminate against men or discriminate towards you now pretty much everywhere. And I'm not saying, no, you can still believe you're held back by the patriarchy and men are pigs and horrible and it's such a horrible life. Go listen to some more Taylor Swift. I'm just trying to give you another idea, another thing. Just entertain it, try intellectual honesty, try and view it from this point. That you are unaware of how. I don't think it's malicious. If people ask me, do you think women maliciously treat men like shit in the screen? Some, obviously, 320 million people. Sure, there's some sadists. There's some genuinely evil people. But you are unaware you're doing it. Because you're again, it's no different than being a spoiled kid from the burbs. You have no idea how good you got it. You don't realize what you're doing. The concept, the political concept of privilege, that warped, bastardized version, ironically, I would argue applies to you. You are unaware of how society, specifically as well as yourselves, treat men. Now, I'm just asking you to entertain that. I'm not saying you have to agree with it, but entertain that. And then realize that men are looking at this behavior. They're being poorly treated. And it's not because they're weak or sad or mopey. It's because they're finally getting self-respect. And to add further logic, or I would say evidence to my argument, this has only relatively recently come about because now the internet has exposed. Men could see it in 4K. And not only can men see it in terms of media and videos or words or whatever else, there's people like me, which you may or may not like. That's irrelevant to the point. Older men predominantly who've gone together and say, look, we were there in the before time, before there was digital. We figured this stuff out. Here is an operating model. This is why this is happening. And whereas times past, people said, tough up, bootstrap, man up, what was it? Was it Rollo? Man up and marry those sluts? You just, where the traditional advice would have been, quit feeling sorry for yourself, get off your ass. There's a lot of guys saying, nope, hit the brakes, stop. It's like we're on this, the train with the pull train or the subway where you pull the emergency thing. Like, no, pull it. There's a bridge out up ahead. That's bait. No, this is wrong. This is not right. And I think what women are going to have to realize this shaming tactic and society, because you see it in these traditional, especially the tradcons. Again, I don't think they do it maliciously. They do it because that's what you're supposed to do. That's what your religion says. It's naivete. You boys better get in. Have you seen those horrible commercials where it's this putsy guy with not Ferris Bueller, Parker Lewis hair, and he asks out the girl with flowers? That shit, oh my god. It's so cringe. You're like, you men, you better get in there and do the thing you've been doing. And now we have a tonnage of evidence highlighted with bright lights and a magnifying glass and 4K detail saying, no, this is not acceptable. Standing women up is also unacceptable. Standing men up, flaking on dates, not acceptable. That's been happening forever. A divorce rate of just shy of half, not acceptable. You say, but no, choose better. And 75% of women file for divorce. You can legally discriminate against men in practically all endeavors, not acceptable. And if you really want to see it, where you don't know it if you're in it. You're like, what am I doing wrong? Like, especially if you're in a religious cult, you're always sinning, you're always violating God, and therefore you must do what the people say. It's kind of the same thing where you're almost in this bubble and you don't know any better, but step out and you can look at a particular culture, and that'd be within the Black community and the passport bros. Now, of course, Black men don't have a monopoly on passport bros. Many men for many ages have been going overseas, but it's particularly pronounced these past couple of years because Black women treat Black men like utter shit. I think most women generally, for generalizing, I know not individually, generally men are treated more truly second-class citizens here by now, which is a shocking concept to maybe, I know. But if I look at the Black, I'm like, oh my God, do you hate your men? You're not nice. You're not effeminate. You're combative. You're mean. You're loud. Of course, I do know nice Black women who are feminine and nice and loving and all that. But what I see is like, whoa, whatever they're putting out on the media, whatever PR team is in charge, well, no shit. What do you think Black men were going to do? American Black men, anyway. You think they're going to accept then you see it because it's not your culture, or at least you're at least a couple degrees removed from it. You look at like, holy cow, that's not poor Black men looking at their navel. That's not it. They just got self-respect. You look like, that's not acceptable. That's not feminine. That's not even nice. That's not even agreeable behavior. But you just have to take a look at a lot of, you'll see some criticism coming from Black audience members and people like, man, the white girls, X, Y, and Z. And then we all agree that Latinas are very stabby, right? We agree on that. Out of all the women, all races, and the Latinas got the gold for stabbiness. I gotta send this to Mary Jo. You guys see the meme? Guy in a suit, very serious looking, and a 1-800 something. Is this? Have you dated a Latina? You may be entitled to compensation. Mary Jo didn't like that one either. I got some. I am your baby. Love you too, dear. But my point is that no matter how you see it, but I think, and regardless of who you are, the internet has made it very clear to men, and ladies, you have to understand this. Men's opinion, whether you agree with it or not, is that you are treating them unacceptably. And whereas times past, it might have been sad, mopey, weak kid that needs a kick in the ass. Now, no, in the majority of instances, this is not acceptable. It's not acceptable to be overweight and physically unattractive. The concept of big is beautiful. Be like us forcing, like, short is mandatory. You must date a short man. How dare you, madam, not date a short man? the divorce rates just that. Why aren't men getting married? Huh? I mean, how many corpses of men before would you like to lay out? How many pikes on the head or heads on a pike would you like to put out in front of the town of marriage? The attitude, the discrimination, and just not being nice. It's no. I haven't even dated in almost 2 decades now. It's been a while, but I'm just watching. I take it in debt. I get field reports. This isn't even necessarily addressing my generation. I'm looking at like, are you nuts? It wasn't even acceptable back in my day what we had to go through. Getting you would, just so you know, guys, you majority of the time you're going to get stood up. That just is what it is. But go back a generation before me, and when my mom was like, we would never stand a man up. It's just unthinkable. You go back to the World War II generation, no woman would stand a man up. They tell him honestly, oh, I'm sorry, Joey Johnson, I'm going out with Stevie Stevenson tonight. We're going to the bellhop or whatever the hell they call it. So you could disagree and you can argue. You could say I'm wrong, and you could. My point is that your attempts to shame, your natural inclination or assessment that men should be shamed, they're just weak, it's going to fall on deaf ears, and it's not going to work because it's not about men being weak. This is about men having self-respect. It's about men, and I mean self-respect. It's not what's scary. What's really scary about this, I'm trying to be as intellectually honest as possible. It's not even about self-respect. It's that it is such a bad deal. Men, you girls have made it so. Here's the accurate use of the word. You've made it so toxic that it overrides men's sex drive. That's how bad it is. You may not like that theory, but the cumulative social nationwide behavior of women, and one could say legal policy and whatever else, has become so bad, it overrides their sex drive. Now, there is a fair argument. I will go along with women on this. You're darn right, prawn has a lot to do with it. Prawn is just, and you come with me on a journey, just to show you that there might be some veracity to my theory, and maybe you might want to entertain it. You got Bob Bobson. I'm sorry, that's not a modern name. Tanner Tannerson. There's a modern name for a modern boy today. So Tanner Tannerson, he wants to get laid, but let's just keep it at the date level. He wants to go on a date. Oh, there's Madisonson. Okay, so it's Tanner and Madison. Just tell us. Oh my goodness. He'd like to ask her out. And he could ask her out, right? That requires rejection and all that. But he does a little bit of math that's like, okay, I could ask her out, and using historical data, you have to ask out 10 girls. You probably get 2 to 3 dates. That was in my day. I don't even know if that would happen. It's all online here, but just follow me on the math. 10 girls out that he already probably has a little bit of rapport with. 7 will say yes. Only 2 will show up. And then he has to get 3 dates with both of those 2 in order to probably get laid. Right? Now, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of asking out. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of dates, ultimately, even to get laid. Or he could say, you know what? I could just jerk off to the prawn and not bother. He's done in like 5 minutes, hell, probably 2 minutes. And then he goes back to playing video games. Now, if girls were dressed pretty and nice, I'm not saying necessarily flirtatious, but weren't mean or what's the word? Where they deter men, they scare men away, they repulse, I guess might be a way. But there's a cute girl and you can sit next to her, you talk a little bit in class or whatever. Right? If it was a little bit more of a welcoming environment, men might have done that. But let's talk. Is there a welcoming environment? All right. First, the girls got tattoos and are overweight, and you got ugly hair, and you got stuff pierced in your face. There's still a little bit of holdover, I guess, from Me Too. The PR front you put up with feminism And don't you dare, and how dare you, and don't talk to us at the gym. All right, we won't. Don't ask us out at work. All right, we won't. Okay, fine, we won't. So the environment is much less inviting. It's not inviting at all. So whereas one might have an incentive back in the day, like, oh, okay, I'm going to ask that girl. Now it's like, whoa, already this looks like an uphill battle. Already this looks like it's going to cause me a lot more pain. And already I knew there was going to be a time commitment. Or he just bloop, turns on the computer, and there's Brandy Love, my favorite porn star. There she is, hotter than most girls who are 20, half her age. And he rubs one out, and then he's off to playing video games or working or something without all that added stress. And then if you're saying, well, he might have regret, does he really have regret? Because again, you gotta think about the message that women as a group, society as a group, has been sending out men, and that is you don't want them. You may disagree, but that's the message they're getting. And like, what opportunity cost, what regret? They probably weren't, And also, I mean, keep in mind there are men who do go out and date. They do have dating experiences, and they're gonna be like, "Whoa, they've done it. They've done the field work. Like, yeah, this is." And now the internet not only has this empirical data and PR, or I guess say propaganda, and people saying, "Yeah, that's what we had." You do know men are comparing notes. You do know we're really good at math. We got the numbers and the data, and we share. You wonder why boys are all interested in charts and numbers, because they want to save their time. And the numbers don't look good. When we take all the action of women's society and all that, and we put it into digestible numbers, men do a cost-benefit analysis like, whoa, in the same amount of time I could get my master's degree and make $175,000 a year remotely. And that's kind of what's happening. It's not that they're afraid, though some men are. Well, every man should be a little afraid of approaching a gal, I guess. It's just human nature, but they're not deathly afraid beyond what they normally would have been in times past. They're not cowardly or feeling mopey or anything like that. Some are. Those would be, once again, the Democrat soy boy pussies you all raised. The ones that agree with you politically, so go date them. These guys are just, no, they're good economists. They're leaving because you treat them poorly. It's like the Steve Crowder. Men are leaving women because you treat them poorly. Prove me wrong. And that's fine. I know. Well, I got all these guys in the internet on my DMs. Like, yeah, that's social media. Let me know. Dude, I even know. Go look up Tinder analytics image search. 16,000 swipes ends up in about 7-8 dates. So I don't care how much you got in the digital world. That ain't the real world. And ultimately, girls, when it comes to men, the goal is to have your day, maybe have a husband too in the process. I don't know. It's my day, cut the cake, honeymoon, travel, and like 7th or 8th is the husband. But in general, you want to get married more than men do. That, I guess, if that's your objective, it's not how many people are DMing you. It's how did you find the guy and get married? And no, you're not. Increasingly not the case. And so if that's of interest to you, I don't know. You look at polling data, half the women are forecasted not to get married. So then this just becomes an academic discussion about why you might as well not even bother shaming men. I argue you're misdiagnosing the problem. But ultimately, the reason men are withdrawing, not asking out in person as much, is you don't treat them kindly. You don't treat them well, generally speaking. And well, there's the whole risk, half getting divorced, you lose your assets. I know it's not the real world, but it's what they see on television or the media. Well, there was the baseball player that had to go to the internet and defend himself. There was the the entrepreneur guy who's trying to find a de-aging treatment. And it wasn't even his wife. His girlfriend was suing him for some kind of palimony. Tom Brady gets divorced. That didn't seem too chaotic. There's the soccer player who put all the money in his mom's name. And then when the gal divorced him, they see that. And that's like huge risk. Huge risk. Not to mention the time risk, just wasting your time dating on a gal that ultimately doesn't like you or is going to be a pain. And there's another one. Have you thought about being nice on the date? Just wondering. The classic goes back to my day. This girl was so pissed off I didn't want to date her anymore because I was going to inevitably settle with the gal I got now. She's like, you just like her because she cooks and she treats you nice and cooks for you. And that kind of told me, like, wow. So men shouldn't expect women to treat them nice. And it wasn't like she thought what she said, but it was this like she tipped her hand. You got to peer behind the curtain. Like, wow, you girls really do think this is an us versus you, a zero-sum game battle that has to happen. And for some women, it seems that way. Men take that in, and we got all the data on the end. We see this behavior. No, it's not they're cowardly. It's not they're afraid. Not they're like, you're not worth asking out. You're not worth pursuing. That's what it is. It's you. And which brings up a great philosophical question. Fine. Let's say it is you. You agree with me. The next follow-up question is, and did you want to change? Because if you say, no, I don't want to change, we're perfectly happy with the way things are. None of us really want to get married. We really aren't that interested in men. Cool. Then just let men know that. And I guess we're on to a different dynamic. I think we're on to a different world. I've said this before. We're in a post-marriage society, or we're rapidly approaching one. If it's too much of a burden to treat men nice, to be physically attractive, so that people might be, this whole sex thing. I don't know if you knew about that stuff going on. We can have that conversation later. Oh, well, what do we do? I guess we are just colleagues at that time. We're co-workers. And I think the message should be brought out there. Yeah, just leave these girls alone. They're not really that interested, or they're not going to go to the lengths of, being physically attractive, nice and kind, and other things that would then reinvigorate or make men be interested in gals again. But again, I don't want to tell you what to do in your life. But knock it off with this shame. The shame, it's going to fall on deaf ears. It will not work. It's different this time. The dynamics are different. And the main reason that I had this, why I wrote the book, is it's one thing to be intellectually amazed by, and this is amazing. I am amazed. I'm so happy I'm alive today to see the point in history where one sex said, we don't need the other. I just think that's fab, where one sex rejected the other. This is fascinating to me. But being an economist, I'm like, it's like Columbo. Just one more thing, ma'am. There are huge, I would say, total economic consequences to this, because, and this, you could go ahead and read the book. No, I'm not making it up. Men more or less produce everything that's really important in all societies. And the reason men produce everything in society is because we would get love, kids, sex, wife, that kind of thing. We'd have a family. But I won't lie, 67% sex. Yeah. And now that women are more or less disinterested or treating men not kindly, or it's toxic or hostile, and certainly that's the PR you girls are sending. Don't claim otherwise on that. Men are not anywhere near incentivized to work hard, invest, and produce. And there are total economic consequences, which I entail in my book. I go through the numbers and a lot of charts and graphs. Men, you'll find it amazing. And I have it linked below. A World Without Men, an analysis of an all-female economy. There are tremendous consequences to this, economic consequences. And again, well, what if we don't want to? You're right. You don't have to, but there's going to be some economic consequences if you're okay living with those economic consequences. And I enlist those below. But we meant just a short version. God damn, we produce pretty much everything. And we also invent nearly everything as well. And I don't know what kind of standards of living you're accustomed to. But if we don't get on friendly terms here soon, I bet you men would be happy. Look, fine, we get it. We're not getting married. We're not, okay, fine. You date the top 5% of guys and they'll rotate you through like a carousel. All right. But knock it off with the discrimination laws and please shut up about being oppressed. You're not oppressed. I think you might get something there. But my God, if men don't have a reason, or at least are treated kindly or civilly, with civility, you go, oh, where's the 7 million men who aren't working? Everyone's going to have consequences. Everyone. So that book is linked below. But for the here and now, I think shame is not going to work. You've misdiagnosed the problem, and the treatment is not going to work. It's going to be ineffective. What you would have to do is you'd have to consider what men want. That's a whole other different discussion. But yeah, you can stop with the shame. You can. It doesn't even. And a lot of guys, especially if you're younger, wait, what am I a weak? No. You should not be stood up. You should not be discriminated against. You shouldn't have to pay for other kids that aren't yours. No, dude. And maybe that's another topic. Like, no, guys, you're not insane. But you could keep going with the shame if you girls would like. I just think it would be a waste of time and effort on your part. All right, so the book, A World Without Men, an analysis of an all-female economy, is linked below. Let's go to the super chats and have ourselves a treat. Wisdom Vision Productions, $5. Cowboy Bebop the movie. I've never bought a theater ticket so fast. What, you didn't know there was a movie? The Cowboy Bebop had a movie? Regrettably, I've never watched the full anime. It's high on my to-do list. Wisdom, what if you got hit by a truck today, man? You wouldn't have seen all of Cowboy Bebop. I saw it last night. It was great. I mean, I know the movie like the back of my hand, but yeah, it's a good movie too. They kind of did it right in the middle of the series. Good plot. See what happened. Okay, American movie go. Okay, Hollywood, listen to this. So the Japanese, Sinkiro Watanabe, the director, sat down and they thought up of a good plot, and then they wrote good dialogue, and then they had good animation. And was it the best movie ever? No, but it was a solid B+, A-. And if you know the characters from the show, it was a great movie. Poor Jet. I don't know. People are hanging out with me. Where are they going? I don't care about them. Spike, where have you been? SJ, too Canadian. Will your book write on travels and finding a plan B? No. There's many other people that specialize in finding a plan, like Andrew Hendrickson, Nomad Capitalist, Sovereign Man. There's many other people out there who have done more of a job than I have. I haven't even done a job. There's How to Live Off of 200,000 in Southeast Asia by Luca Vendetti. I believe that's another one, although it might have to be adjusted for inflation. But when you talk like a plan B just to live elsewhere, that's not my expertise. A plan B to find gals, generally speaking, yeah, you should go overseas to where people treat you better. And there's a whole bunch of risks that come with, yeah. See, I've always been attracted to white women disproportionately because, well, I'm white. And I think everyone, I got an Asian fan. I'm like, no, you don't. You just think you do. I've never, you're going to Southeast Asia. Hey, you're like, I'm not that attracted to the Asian gals. Just not really. I'm going there for business purposes and economics, not to get laid. So I've never under like Thai girls. Okay. I mean, I don't hate Thai women by any stretch of the imagination. I'm fine. But if you're finding another gal, yeah, you're just going to have to go to where it's more traditional. And then always look out for scams. There's going to be other cultural issues as well. A lot of places you're expected to send money back to the family. And people say, how do you handle that? And I say, well, I just say no. It's not my family. Well, then you can't date me. I guess our relationship is over then. Bye. Yeah. But it'd be worth it. See, and here's another thing. Going back to our discussion of shame. 20 years ago, if you had to go overseas, that was shameful. Well, 20 years ago, if you did online dating, it was shameful. Well, you can't meet someone in the real world. And look how that's kind of changed and evolved. I think kind of like taking TRT, online dating, and going overseas to find a wife. I think the shame is going to be going away. And I am happy to say, I think a lot more men, especially now with the internet and that these new ideas, and they're not new ideas, they're just facts, are out there. It's like, dude, why would you? It totally makes sense the brothers would be going to the Dominican Republic. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's not anywhere near the amount of shame. And me as an economist, I almost look at it from more of like an international trade kind of perspective where it's like, okay, like when the United States wanted to build the SR-71 Blackbird, which is like a spy plane, they had to make it out of titanium because it would go so fast, any other metal would melt or warp. And the only country that had enough titanium was the Soviet Union at the time. And so the CIA set up a bunch of front companies to buy titanium from the Soviet Union so we could create the plane that would ultimately spy on them. It's more of a matter of fact like that. Oh, we don't have titanium. Well, who has the titanium? Russia. Guess we got to go to Russia. You don't think anything shameful of that? Who's got the Saudi Arabia? I guess we got to go to Saudi Arabia. No one cared. Like, oh God, how shameful! You have to go to Saudi Arabia to get your oil. Yeah, you got to go to Japan to get your reliable cars that don't crap out. Yeah, like no one shames you for buying a Japanese car today, do they? Or that you. I'm trying. Oh, here's what it almost be like. It'd be like shaming you that you got your coffee beans from the tropics, whichever country, Honduras, the Caribbean, South America, it doesn't matter. Well, that's where the good coffee beans are because of the climate and the weather and the soil. There's no shame in buying that there. That's where the coffee beans grow, or even very closely related cigar tobacco. Well, for whatever reason, culturally speaking, traditional women are growing in these cultures. And that's what men want out of marriage. And you got to go to those cultures to go get those gals, I guess. And I would say there's no shit. You want to get married, you want a nice gal, you want her to be thin. Let the Western women hypersonic re. I don't care. It's the girls could make a choice. They could change, and they're going to try and shame you. But I honestly, if you haven't figured out, you shouldn't let other people shame you by the time you graduate from high school. If you went through middle school and high school in America and you haven't figured out that you shouldn't give a flying fuck what people think about you, I can't help you. But it's the same thing. It would, the next time, so it's, oh, you need to go overseas to get your gals. Like, oh my God, you need to go overseas to get your coffee beans. Yeah, and but I do think the shame is just people they don't care anymore, especially the guys. Like, no, and I think younger men are seeing it. I think young men's health will improve because whereas they're not getting what they want ultimately in life, that'd be love, marriage, sex, hot girl, whatever. They're not confused about it. They weren't lied to about it. Even if their parents or their teachers or whoever lies to them, you got the internet. And then when they find, how do I get the girls? They're going to find the truth. And they're going to come here and they're going to be like, oh, well, at least I wasn't confused for decades. Might be confused for a couple of years. Run Forest 11, $2 Bulgarian. Shame works a lot more against men these days. Does it? I thought I would disagree. I don't think it does anymore because men just don't care. Young boys, whatever criticism you might have of the incels and the nilfs and the neats, they don't care. They don't have any shame. And there's a certain dark way I can understand. Well, look, what exactly have you told that's encouraging? Where have you invested in these boys? You haven't. You told them they're pigs and they're patriarchy and they don't benefit. And then, oh, by the way, you need a master's degree to work, and no one's going to give you the time of day unless you make six figures. They just do the numbers. They're like, forget. I'm playing video games and living off of welfare. I don't qualify for welfare. What? Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm coming down with a case of the bipolars. I need a disability check. And women are like, oh my God, here's so much of other people's money. Why can't I find a man? And then I go hiking. I would disagree. I mean, shame still works to a certain level, but it's less effective now because men just don't care. Like if you, quote, have no shame, all you do is play video games, and all you did was work 60 hours a week and get divorced twice and ruin a bunch of kids' lives. Okay. Liberal shithole survivalist, $5. Shame only works when a person shaming you praises you once in a while. Really? Chris Rock said, what are you going to do next? Take the keys to my spaceship? I guess that'd be on a personal relationship. I don't know the context. I never saw Chris Rock. I'm talking more of a nationwide cultural shame where you watch the media idiots try, oh, men aren't working. What do we do? Bring in Professor Fuckwitz over here. Oh, Professor Fuckwitz. Yes, well, you've never touched a vagina or dated or had any success in social life, but you have a doctor in sociology. Tell us what you think is going on. Flavin. Like, oh, this genius is going to tell us what's going on. Not once did they ever pull young men. There's too many fat chicks. But I would say a social-wide shame, nationwide shame is happening, and the praise. I don't know, really. I mean, let me ask. Aside from the participation trophy, you're all win. When have guys gotten praise? That's what I'd like to know. Show it to me. And not the most recent trend that's all of 5 minutes out of the oven with a bunch of big-titted cleavage gals with a crucifix wearing a sundress. Like, oh my God, I just love being a traditional stay-at-home wife. I want to see the trad wife grifters. Not those. You show, I mean, they're out there. They're rare, but they're out there. But not in enough numbers like, oh yeah, this is actually what people are thinking in the real world. No, that's just theater. That's just internet theater. Ha. Joe Orbits, 20 generous dollars. I introduced you to my dad, and 2 months later, he left my stepmom. Wait a minute. Did we? Oh, like we weren't personally introduced. Like you showed me to. Okay. I introduced you to my dad, and 2 months later, he left my stepmom. She turned into a fat, lazy slob with depression. So thanks for teaching him self-respect at 50. He's doing his 8th grade crush who's skinny and hikes. There you go. Good for your old man. I'm glad he's having sex. Oh my God, men dare to want to have sex. That's another discussion we'll have later. I'm happy for your stepdad. Happy for you. Oh my God, look who's here. Shark Tawes. If you guys want to tune into a nice, relaxing channel while you're going for a hike or working out, I recommend you go and listen to Shark Tawes. Just give it a shot. $10. In my experience, shaming was done when nobody had a counter to your logic or arguments. Also got 2 songs in the works for you. Titles are Cappy's Lounge and Well Endowed Molly. Shark Tank. Yeah, send them to me, man. I'll pay you. I'll more than happily take it. That's hilarious. Are there lyrics to Well Endowed Molly? More because I think you're younger than me. Yes, shame was a real tool back in the day because you couldn't just grab them, start beating the shit out of them, and say, "Start doing it this way, you idiot." Society leaving you and abandoning you and having nothing to do with you was enough to rule and make you do the right thing. Now shame is name calling. Like, I think we should have low taxes and stop illegal immigration. Why do you want to kill black people, Hitler? Oh, you must hate the Jews. Like, huh? What? So, yeah, it's what's happening. What should happen is what's happening, and that is men are just stopping. They're not paying attention anymore. They're just like, yeah, okay, whatever. They really, and it may be arrogant and dismissive, but you see the younger generations like be dismissive of older generations. You really ought to get out there and get it. Yeah, okay, whatever, boomer. Which is kind of healthy. They miss out on a lot where you're trying to actually get. No, really, you ought to go work 2 jobs right now because it's never been easier to find a job. But just as the boomers come in, oh, you ought to do, and the girls come in, you gotta. It's like, hey, no. Hey, look, there's this tig-bitted redhead. Well Endowed Molly is on the internet. Oh yeah, I'm gonna jerk off to her, and then I'm gonna go play video games. That would be interesting. I know maybe the data is out there, but no, the data isn't out there. I would love to see 3 variables: the number of time men have jerked off per capita, which there's no way to measure that, per year or per day or whatever, however you want to measure it. versus the number of forcible bedroom not fun times that happened versus number of times guys asked women on dates. Not online, in person. That online thing really threw things for a loop, and it's already fallen upon itself. It's already collapsing. That online, everyone's realized. Why couldn't people figure out college was just as stupid and pointless and a waste of time as online dating? Online dating only costs you a fraction of that as college, but you all college keeps sticking in there somehow. But people are abandoning online dating, and rightfully so. But it just, because they say, oh, I've got so many guys asking me out. Like, no, you actually don't. You really don't. It's this hybrid world that isn't real. And so I think most people are getting hip to the jive there and leaving that. Michael Wallace, $5. Man, you kind of look like Jack Reacher from the distance. I always thought people had their shit together in school and life as you would as a kid, knowing nothing else. Turns out 90% have zero dreams and goals. Dude, it took me until I was about 31, 32 to realize that. The adults don't know jack fuck all shit. The amount of troubles, if we had competent adults, we wouldn't have half the troubles we have today. The adults are just big fucking children now. It's sad. It is sad. But again, reason 897 I became a misanthrope is when I can't trust my elders or the seniors because they're all a bunch of fucking morons and they don't have enough money saved up for retirement. Really, you don't listen to the adults. You gotta look for the guy who's the asshole who like tells it like it is. You gotta look for the guy who almost is a little violent, like cuts people off, has their shit together, like has no patience or time for bullshit. There's that type. And but man, it's but you just look and half the people are drugged out, man. They're just zoned out. Well, I was at a restaurant yesterday, and the not the Vikings, the Vegas Knights, that's the hockey team. I'm just trying to eat my food, have a good time. All of a sudden, everyone went, no! And it was loud. I'm like, what happened? And they got in overtime. The Knights lost the game. The other team scored a goal against the Knights hockey guy, the goalie. And that required the whole place. No! And I had a small heart attack. I'm like, oh my God, you're all fucking idiots. I can understand why people should enslave you because you're morons. All right, there you guys go. What is that? All right, yeah, link below. A World Without Men, an analysis of an all-female economy. Ladies, if you'd like to read it, you're not going to like it, but you all keep telling us you should be open-minded. You should be open-minded. Well, here's your shot, ladies. Go be open-minded and read the data. Don't call me names, though, okay? Don't shame me. Don't call me names. Don't call me Hitler. Debunk my information. Debunk my data. I don't know where you're going to get counter data because I use the Department of Labor. It's pretty authoritative. It's not really biased. But I will entertain any logical dissection of it because I also want to have integrity. Like if there's something wrong, like, oh, you forgot to carry the one. Oh, I did. And it's possible I might have made a mistake. I doubt it, but it's possible. But ladies, go ahead. If you disagree, go get the book and take down the book. Don't say, who hurt you? Oh, you must be gay. You're like, are they still doing that? Like, you must be gay? Or they now realize that, oh my God, he insulted gay people. Oh, you must have a small dick. Who hurt you? You might say your mom, like those third grade level. Is that even a thing anymore? Why is no one helping fix my tire? Why is no one coming to defend me on the subway? And I have too small of a dick to defend you. Plus, you like that guy. You voted for him. You probably date him too. All right, that's it. See you guys later. Toodles.